Hello, friends and family. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. First, some good news. The organization we're highlighting this week is Dads Make a Difference. This is a Minnesota-based organization that appears to have started in 1993. Their focus is on promoting positive involvement of fathers. That's something that connected with me right away. I'm a father. Of all the roles I fill in my life, being a father is, without a doubt, my favorite. I wanted to be a father when I was young, starting a family. And I enjoy being a father more than I could have possibly imagined at that time. I think it's important that we continue to support all parents. I see it as a teacher every day, the important role parents play in the lives of their children. When I say parents, I'm talking about anyone who's filling that role for a child. The same thing when I talk about a father. It's anyone who's filling that father role. And there are a lot of children who maybe don't have a positive father figure in their lives. We've seen a lot of growth and change over the last few generations with the involvement of fathers in general terms. I think that's a good thing, and it's important that we keep supporting the positive role of fathers. I know my father certainly has had a profound impact on my life and helped shape who I am. I try to be a strong, supportive figure for my children, and I'm really for anything that helps any parent or any guardian, anyone fill that role and support children. They have a program called the R Factor program. The components of that program, kind of the headings under which they build the program, are respectful, responsible, relate well to others, realistic and planful, retain balance in their lives. I just like those 5 topics as great things all people should probably be striving for in their lives. So go ahead and check out Dads Make a Difference. You can find them at their website, dadsmakeadifference.org. This is Family Time 91. We're back to self-management for our social emotional learning competencies. And we're talking about discipline. We're going to have a discussion in my classes about how we define discipline, what discipline is, and why discipline might be important. So far as I'm concerned, discipline is one of the biggest things we can help our young people develop, because it's transferable. Admittedly, a lot of the things we do in school on a day-to-day basis don't necessarily translate to all aspects of life. That's not to belittle those things. We kind of know the old saying, well, when am I ever going to need this in my life? I think there's great value in exercising the different parts of our brain, having us think in different ways, also providing some foundational skills that we can use as a platform, a jumping off point, and allow students to find what they really do find interesting and what they do excel at. But things like discipline and perseverance, grit, determination, those things are universally transferable. they apply to all aspects of life. And I think discipline often gets a bad rep. We think of discipline as something that is confining, something that's limiting, that we really can't have fun if we're very disciplined. And the opposite is really true. If we have discipline, we have more choice. That may seem like those things don't go together, that we're limiting our choices by being disciplined, but I think when we're not disciplined, we're also not making a lot of choices for ourselves. We're sort of going with the flow. We're moving along with the inertia of life. We're influenced by a lot of outside forces. And it's hard to be happy when that is our existence. When we can be disciplined, when we can set up goals, when we can set routines, when we can stay focused on things we want to achieve, that leads to happiness. That leads to freedom. It takes away a lot of the weight and pressure that is put on us by all of these outside forces. It's our own way to build a suit of armor, to make ourselves impervious to some of these outside things. We're going to talk about how we develop discipline. And there's a lot of aspects that go into that. I think something that's important to remember, something that I try to preach with my students and athletes all the time, is that being disciplined isn't about these singular grand gestures. A lot of times we want that in life. We want the miracle cure. We want the crash diet. We want instant gratification. And that's sort of the opposite of discipline. That's also why it can be hard for many of us to stay disciplined. It's because discipline's not real flashy. It's kind of grinding away. It's the old adage that I use a lot of times. It's not mine, but how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. It's doing little things over and over and over again. And it's important to focus on little things because those are more sustainable. We want to start a workout routine. It's not real sustainable to say, I'm going to work out 4 hours every day and jump into a gung-ho and do that nonstop, and we wind up not having time for that, or we develop injuries, those sorts of things. But if we can implement healthy habits in our daily lives, and we can get used to those things, then we can build on them. And that's a big part of discipline too. It's sort of starting with things that we can do and then adapting and growing from there, and slowly adding discipline, building disciplines on discipline. And another thing that I think is important to consider with discipline is sacrifice. I think those two things go hand in hand. That's always kind of what I ask myself and what I ask of my students, my athletes, is what do you want most in life? And what are you willing to give up to get those things? That's the real question. What are you willing to give up? If you're not willing to give up time, if you're not willing to give up some of your social life, if you're not willing to give up watching Netflix, going on TikTok, whatever it is, that's okay. But then you have to understand that maybe this other thing you think you want, maybe it's not as important to you as you thought it was. Or you have to be honest and realize some of those other things may be keeping you back from what you say you want most. And if you really do want that thing most, and if you're not going to be happy without some of those other things, we have to cut away other stuff. And that's hard. It can be painful. Sometimes we have to cut away those distractions. Other times we have to cut away bigger things. We have to maybe cut people out of our lives who are a negative influence, who are holding us back. That can be very hard. So we have to consider what we're willing to sacrifice to get what we really want. And that's a part of discipline. That's our focus this week. We're going to have a lot of conversation about what discipline really means, how we can implement it in our lives, how we can build it. But just remember, discipline isn't the restriction. Discipline is the key. Discipline is the thing that will allow you to be who you want to be. Discipline is the thing that will lead to a higher level of joy and peace and self-respect. So don't shy away from discipline. Find ways to build it into your life. Much love. My blog post for this week is Daytime Moon. While I usually just discuss the blog post and release the audio separately, I'm going to go ahead and read the whole thing on the podcast here. And I will also separately release just the audio of Daytime Moon. But this is actually a sort of a poem that I wrote one day. I was actually out for a run, and there was the daytime moon, you know, when it's daylight out, but that moon is still hanging up in the sky. And I just was kind of in a bit of a whimsical mood, and I was thinking things about the daytime moon, as if the moon were sort of something that I could personify and talk to. So this was sort of me having a little conversation with the daytime moon. Daytime moon, the daytime moon, I see you in the blue. I wonder why you're in the sky today, but more I wonder who. I want to know the daytime moon, 'cause I don't fit here too. Did you come to see the funny things that all us people do? We chase money and we chase views, and don't even look at you. There's majesty in this world, but we refuse to see it. There's so much more we could do if we'd simply stop and be it. Instead, we hurt and steal and cheat and lie, don't live much life before we die. Sometimes we don't do much at all, just float through life until we fall. But maybe that's not why you're here. Perhaps you know better. Did you come to watch the children play? Or see poets write love letters? Did you come to see the things that make a life of days worth living? I hope you're here to tell us all that we might be forgiven for wasted days and wasted lives, for the love that we're not giving. Maybe you just want to see who's who they really are, who lives the lives they dream about when you're amongst the stars. I think that's why you're really here. I think that's who you are. A beacon, a reminder that the distance is not far between the people we would like to be and the people that we are. That's Daytime Moon. I was just thinking, like I said, I thought about this as I was on a run, and then I was lifting weights, and I'll do that a lot as I'm working out. That's kind of my alone time, my time to sort of be in something of a meditative state. And I was just kind of thinking, if the moon was a person or a character, why would the moon come out during the day? What's the moon trying to see during the daytime? Usually the moon's hanging out at night. And I thought of all these different things of maybe the moon is kind of checking in on us. Maybe the moon is wondering about all the silly things we do as human beings, how there's all this beauty all around us, things like the moon and the stars and the sun and the grass and the flowers and the trees, and we often ignore it. We often get so caught up in the silly things in our day-to-day lives that we put so much weight on that maybe aren't as significant as we think they are in the moment. And I thought, maybe the daytime moon would be disappointed. It came to look at all of us and it sees us do things like lie and cheat and steal and waste away these days. That the moon is here during the daytime and here we are wasting the day that was given to us and just kind of float through our lives. And then I thought, well, maybe the daytime moon wants to see some of the beautiful things that we do as a human race, though. Things like children playing and people writing love letters and songs and all the music and majesty that does exist in our earthly lives. And I thought, well, I hope that's why the daytime moon is there. To be a symbol, to be a reminder that maybe things aren't great, maybe we're not living up to our potential, who we would like to be, but that the distance between who we are and who we'd like to be isn't a big gap. And maybe the distance between the world we have and the world we'd like to see isn't that big of a distance either. And maybe sometimes we just need little reminders about all of the powerful things that do exist in this world. That's what I was thinking about when I was writing down daytime moon in sort of one shot while working out one day, scribbling down lines on a scrap piece of paper. But now, a moment for our sponsor. This week's podcast is brought to you by the hottest new band signed to the Nielsen Media label, Karate Pancake. That's right. Karate Pancake, the hottest new band on the scene. Sometimes this is something I would do when I was a kid, is I would just try to come up with band names, generally kind of funny, nonsensical band names, but something I thought sounded like it could be a band, something that could have an album cover. And Karate Pancake, I just liked the idea of those two words smashed together. That was usually how I would come up with band names. It was just really take two words that don't belong together, smash them together. That sounds like a band name to me. So Karate Pancake, that's our band. If I'm having a pretend music label, why not? And now from me to you, we talked about Dads Make a Difference for our Good News segment this week. Support them or support any organization that is helping parents do their job, have positive relationships in their own lives, have positive relationships with their children. There is nothing more important, nothing that impacts a child more than what they're seeing at home, what they're around on a day-to-day basis. And families can take all shapes and sizes and blends and dynamics, and it does not matter whether their families are blood related or not, or how they're composed, so long as there is love and support and encouragement and anything we can do to support others in that way benefits all of us. It benefits society. So go ahead, check them out. support families any way that you can. We talked about discipline this week for our family time. Discipline is so important for anything we want to do in our lives. That's really the key. We have to build discipline. We often have to build it slowly because it's difficult. But it's the thing that really lets us be free and be open and be who we are and reach the best versions of ourselves. So don't shy away from discipline. Start building it into your life and ask difficult questions like what you're willing to give up to get the things you really want most. We talked about the daytime moon, which was sort of a little whimsical, silly thought that I had, but just about what if it is the moon looking down, or if you believe in a deity or whatever, what if there is something looking over us? What is that thing, that entity going to think about how we spend our day-to-day lives and how we could be spending them in so much more productive and meaningful ways? Other than that, we highlighted a silly made-up band called Karate Pancake because it's important to just be a little silly. Silliness, whimsy, those things are important. Life is funny, and it's good to remember that sometimes. Until next time, please feel free to reach out, interact with any of this stuff through the socials. It's pretty much Luke Nielsen Media on most everything, I think, on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, those sorts of things. You can contact me through LukeNielsen.com, the website, LukeNielsenMedia@gmail, any of those sorts of things. It's been fun hearing from some people, interacting with some people. Hopefully we'll have some more guests and things on like that in the near future. Until next time, love yourself, love each other, love the fight.